OpenAI released ChatGPT as a mobile app just last week, and it is only on iOS for now. And this was also the case for Tinder and for Instagram and for a whole host of other very popular apps. And so, why is that? At first glance, this might not make much sense because there are many, many more people using Android devices rather than Apple devices. I'm actually going to show you the statistics here. So have a look here. Android is 72% almost of global market share, and iOS, that's Apple, basically under 30%. So it doesn't really make sense for OpenAI and Tinder and Instagram and so on to release on iOS first. Actually, in the US, it's a little bit different because in the US, iOS has a slight lead. I believe it's just over 50%, and the rest is Android. So, more than half. But that's not really necessarily the reason. The really big thing I want you to focus on is the income of iOS users. Basically, people who use Apple tend to be wealthier than the people who use Android. That is definitely the case worldwide, and it is the case in the US. So the average salary of iPhone users in the US right now is $53,000. While Android users, their salary is about $37,000. So essentially, if you want to launch an app and you want to target a luxury audience, a luxury consumer, or a very educated audience, or a very professional audience, then iOS is where you want to go. But you might say to me, but what about Samsung? I've got a Samsung, it's really expensive. What the hell? Yes, Samsung is expensive. It's just as expensive as Apple is. So actually, the pricing there doesn't make a difference. But what's really interesting is that actually Apple users, so the people who own Apple phones, the way they behave in those phones is actually really, really different to the way Android users behave. So basically, not only do Apple users tend to have more money, they actually spend more money in the Apple App Store. So iOS apps, they often actually generate revenue through subscriptions, through in-app purchases, basically through their users. Android apps in general monetize via advertising. So literally in Android, lots of the apps are going to be like, you watch an ad and then the company's going to make some money. So it's partially, yes, because Android users don't actually have the same disposable income as Apple users, but it's also now just habit forming. So iOS apps target a particular kind of user behavior where we've been really conditioned to spend money on apps. So for example, I am an Apple user and I have so many app subscriptions to like meditation, to Peloton, to various publications and so on and so forth, and also to various work things. And as an Apple user, this is actually quite normal. And again, I can show you some statistics to drive the point home. Now have a look at this. This is from Statista, and I love their research. So here is worldwide spending on mobile apps and games in Google Play and in the Apple App Store at the end of last year. So look at this. This is Google Play, and they're what? They're about a third, right? They're about a third. And most of the time, Google Play is about a third, and Apple has the other two-thirds. But this is insane. Let's go back to our previous graph. More people worldwide have Android phones, but yet the vast, vast, vast majority of app revenue comes from iPhone. So basically, what I want you to get from this video is that if you are going to launch an app or you want to invest in an app and it is going to target an audience that is going to be wealthy, that is going to be educated, then what you want to do is you want to release on iOS first. Also, you have to be cognizant of your market. So, for example, if you're targeting luxury consumers in the US, that is a complete no-brainer. You are going for iOS first because that is what they're using, and that's essentially how you have to target them. But when you are looking at emerging markets, there Not everybody who can afford an iOS phone, not everybody who can afford an Apple is going to use it because the predominant system is going to be Android. So always think about, okay, what kind of user is this app going to target? So in the case of ChatGPT, it is primarily at the beginning targeting basically the educated metropolitan elite. Yes, it's spreading like wildfire, but essentially it is starting with people like me and you, probably. People who are the educated metropolitan elite, and then from there it will spread. And in general, this is what happens. An app that targets that market usually comes out on iOS, and then as the market grows, then they release an Android. And this makes business sense, right? First, you bring your product to the market that is most likely to pay. And I've just shown you that if you're making an app for the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, like the Apple App Store, you're basically two-thirds more likely to get paid. So that's the market you bring your product to first. Then, after you've reached a lot of market penetration, then it makes sense to invest in Android. And here, what I want you to understand is that there is a different coding language used to make apps on the Apple App Store versus the coding language, so literally the programming language used for Google Play. And then there are also pretty strict design differences. This is why app developers usually release to one app store and then to another one. If you want to get more details on this, I have a super good and more in detail episode on this on the Tech from Non-Techies podcast. So I'm going to put the link below or above, depends when you're watching this, and I highly recommend that you check it out. And if you found this video useful, which clearly you did because you're still watching, what I would recommend you do is that you download my free guide to the top 10 technology terms that every business leader needs to know to thrive in the digital age. Because essentially what we're talking about right now is technology and business. And if you're a business person, you need to know tech terms. If you're a tech person, you need to understand how to explain what you're doing to a business person. And this is exactly why you need this guide. The link to the guide is either below or above, depending where you are watching this. And tell me, what did you think about this video? Was this surprising? Was it helpful? How are you going to use this? So please comment below. I would love to hear from you.